pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time, I'd like to recognize any resident taxpayer in this area school district wishing to address the board about title programming or any other matter concerned or interest properly raised in public session. Please state your name and address. 3 minutes.
My name is Trisha Huey. I live on Keystone Avenue. I am standing in front of you tonight to be the voice of so many frustrated parents in this district. I acknowledge that the continual conversation of athletics is probably old news to most of you. However, for us, it is one of the largest pain points within this district. Friday morning, I received an email from Doug Ault stating that my children, both in 3rd grade, would be having their recreational basketball practice off school property in the Ulster Recreational Center. I emailed Barry, the superintendent, and Doug asking the reasoning for this, to which Barry responded with a list of current sports utilizing the 2 gyms we have available here in Sayre. This list included off-season volleyball, adult recreational pickleball, and competitive cheer. Can you please help us as tax-paying parents in this district understand why we are utilizing the gyms for these athletics? Competitive cheerleading can easily utilize the cafeteria for their practices unless someone can explain to me otherwise. Off-season volleyball is just that, off-season. Therefore, they should not be utilizing the gyms during this time of year in which they are not in season. An adult recreational pickleball should not be on the list of consideration for gym utilization. Travel teams and adult league should come secondary in scheduling priority. Why are we leveraging the very little space that we have to these athletics to begin with? Recreation basketball was offered for both girls and boys in K through 6, therefore practice schedules should be prioritized for this group of students. They do not need to practice for hours a week like the JV and varsity teams do. An hour twice a week is suitable for this age group. I refuse to allow my children to be put on the back burner of athletics in this district because they are placed as secondary priorities. My sole purpose as their mother is to place them in the highest priority. And your sole purpose as their educational foundation is to do exactly the same. At this point, we as parents in the district are no longer asking for change, we are demanding it. The athletic director position should not be part-time. This needs to be a full-time role within the district so they can solely focus on recreation and athletics for our students. There are 9 voting members on this school board, 3 of which have students within the district. So while the other 6 of you may not see this as cause for concern, given that you have no true viable interest for these students, I am asking all 9 voting members of the board to consider changing the athletic director position back to a full-time position and hiring an individual who will make an impact on recreation and athletics within the district. I will be following up on this after the holiday break in January to ensure there is positive action in place for the athletics in the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? So with that, we have a special presentation from LA5. Dr. Roser.
Sure. So I wanted to share with the community and those here in attendance that it's my understanding that the members of our community have been conversing about a merger between Sayre and Athens for decades in the making. In fact, I remember upon my employment in 2019, only a few days or weeks on the job when I was told, or it was mentioned to me, that it was happening. And at that time I took a pause just to check into a few things to find out it's been a conversation that's been occurring for decades. So tonight, we're going to hear from a team about the study, a merger study. The team is made up of 4 companies working together. Alloy 5, an architecture firm, McClure, engineering and energy, construction and maintenance, PFM, a consulting financial specialized service company, and Eckert Siemens, a law firm. If approved at our meeting this evening and by the Athens School Board at their next meeting, the group presenting this evening will conduct a study, a merger study. So at this time, I would like to turn it over to the team, and Alloy 5 is going to begin. Thank you.
Thank you. So, excuse me, I'm here tonight to present to you our team and our proposal. You can see our presentation that I'm looking at in front of me in this computer behind the board. So if the board wishes to turn around to do so. We're going to start by introducing ourselves individually. So my name is Randy Galliotto. I'm a principal at Alloy 5 Architects, and I'm a practicing architect, and I have been designing public school facilities for over 20 years.
Yes, thank you.
Also on our team, who was unable to make it here tonight, is Mark Gallick from the Core Company. Mark is an account executive there. He may be a familiar face. He is a native. He has worked at many school districts looking at energy and HVAC projects.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Morgan Madden. I'm an attorney with Eckert Siemens, also a Bradford County native. I'm from Towanda. We are a full-service law firm, 13 offices between Richmond and Boston. Our Pennsylvania offices and my office in particular focuses on labor and employment law and also municipal law. We do quite a bit of work for municipalities, school districts in both solicitor and special counsel capacities.
Thank you. I'm Dean Kaplan from PFM. I'm the leader of our K-12 schools practice. I'm based in Philadelphia and work predominantly in Pennsylvania with school districts across the Commonwealth and also with PDE on multi-year financial planning, and I also work nationally with other districts as well.
So when we received the RFP and thought about our response, we wanted to do one thing, and that is assemble the very best team to execute what you were asking us to do. And that's how these four companies came together and are here tonight. So our roles, Alloy 5, my firm, will look at the facilities. McLaurin Company will look at the systems within those facilities and sustainability. PFM will look at finances, and Eckert Siemens will be obviously our legal team. My company focuses on and specializes in doing facility assessments for public schools. We look at all the things that many of you don't see every day. Roofs, the things behind the walls, the masonry that's cracking, and we develop plans to help improve those items. We also specialize in doing district-wide planning, district-wide studies. We'll talk about that a little bit more later in the presentation, but we have a great deal of knowledge and experience doing district-wide studies. McClure also does as well. We have partnered with them on a number of studies in the past, and Mark will tell you a little bit more about their company. They are the largest, I believe, HVAC engineering and construction company in Pennsylvania, and they focus on public school projects. There's a little bit of their stats: $103 million in projects, 69 years, 250 years of experience. They are a very impressive firm. And I think we've all heard of PFM.
Thank you. PFM stands for Public Financial Management, and the first and most important point is that we work exclusively with public sector organizations like school districts, municipalities, and authorities, and nonprofits. And most of our team are former local government officials. We've sat on the other side of the table and understand what elected officials like you and your senior staff, like the superintendent, are facing day to day, and try to take that into consideration in our work. In this particular area, we've been working for several years, mostly with the Commonwealth, looking at mergers and tuition agreements and boundary changes for different school districts which are occurring across the Commonwealth. We also work, as I mentioned, broadly with fiscal planning and operating capital budgeting and looking at operations. And we are currently working on a merger feasibility study, not exactly the same, but similar to this one for the Pennsbury and Morrisville school districts in Bucks County.
And as I mentioned, Eckerd Siemens is a Mid-Atlantic law firm with 13 offices. It says there 300 lawyers across 15 offices. That's closer to 400 at this point, and 2 of those offices are really operative out of 2 others. However, we really pride ourselves at Eckerd Siemens on hiring the entire firm, just because, and you'll hear a little bit more about our team later, but just because there are going to be 4 of us out of that close to 400 attorneys working on this project doesn't mean you don't have access to the expertise of those other attorneys. Our role in this project is going to be relatively secondary. We will provide guidance on the regulatory and statutory requirements that the other 3 partners will work within the confines of. But to the extent issues arise, public questions, board questions, we've got the expertise to answer those questions and kind of wade through those unfamiliar waters.
And we believe the team brings a very unique perspective as the 3 of us, myself, Dean, and Ian, bring an outside perspective, and Morgan and Mark bring a local perspective.
And so in terms of that local perspective, Mark and I are obviously familiar with how a district like this operates on a day-to-day. Mark was an SRU student at one point. As I said, I was a Towanda student, and these discussions about mergers, consolidations, things like that have been going on, as Dr. Delosio said, for a very long time. I want to take this opportunity to make just a few things clear. We're speaking specifically about a merger as opposed to an acquisition or a consolidation. This isn't an instance where we're attempting to figure out the feasibility of one school district absorbing the other, as much as we are trying to study and analyze what it would look like if these 2 districts were to combine into a single district. And so, as I mentioned, our team is made up of both outside and inside prospective individuals and groups. I know I can speak for Eckerd. We've done work for both districts in a special labor council capacity at this point. We're familiar with both, and we're excited for the opportunity to work with both on a new basis moving forward.
So when we talk about a study, what is that? When we look at the deliverable that you will receive from us, we do believe that a study is both creative and technical, and it's broken down into these 9 areas. These 9 areas are not arbitrary. They are the 9 areas that is recommended by PDE when looking at district-wide studies. And we're going to talk a little bit in detail about what each of these are. So the deliverable will be a textbook style book. We'll also give it to you digital so that you can have a searchable digital PDF for a quick and easy reference. We like to say that this is like a 5th grade textbook style book, so it is easy to read. And while it does have a lot of detail, it also has a lot of very easy icons and things like that to point to. We'll start with regional overview and document your regional history, growth, and data. And I'm going to pass it to Dean, who's really going to dive into what the merger study is in detail.
Thank you, Randy. I think the most important thing to emphasize here is that our goal as a project team is to provide you and the Athens board with information. We're not here to provide you with a solution or a decision or a recommendation, but rather to go through these areas and provide you with the information about what would happen in a merger or could happen and how it might be structured, and allow you to then move forward to determine what's best for the kids in this area. So these are the areas that we'll focus on. As Randy said, I want to dive into a couple of them a little bit more detail. As he mentioned, we start out with looking at the overview, the demographic numbers, both from the census and other federal sources, but also some of the things that both districts report to PDE, some of which many of you know quite in detail. Some of them might be new, and particularly for those who are outside readers of the study, giving them an adequate background to understand some of the issues that the boards are very, very deep in already. Obviously, we look closely at comparing the two educational programs in the two districts. And one of the things we've done to enhance this is to add to our team Carol Saylor, who is a former superintendent in two central Pennsylvania districts and who is working with us on our Pennsbury and Morrisville study right now. She's also collaborated with us on some of our projects for PDE with districts around the state. So she's very familiar with the different curriculum and other educational aspects of academic offerings, and it helps us interpret as well some of the PDE stats that you know on the road, some of the data metrics around the district. We also will collaborate with Alloy in particular, looking at enrollment analysis and the sort of forward long-term trends in enrollment and population and birth rates, and these are things which are frequently done, and many districts have an enrollment study, but sort of looking forward in terms of kind of what the number of children will be is a good and important place to start for some of the later pieces. There are governance issues, of course, that we'll outline working with Eckert, what the state code says about how boards merge in these cases, and what options you have so that you'll have that information to continue any further discussions if you wish. A big piece of our work is really around finance, and we start with looking at your current budget and financial plans, your recent results, and build out a baseline for both districts of what would happen over the next 10 years financially if you continued along your current trend. And then we'll also show a combined merger analysis, and that will allow you to see some of the different pressure points in each budget, how they would change, and give you some options in terms of thinking about local tax rates and tax sources, what would happen to your state aid formula, opportunities for economies of scale and other gains or collaboration, and then some short-term things which are affecting, there's always one or two, but right now the federal ESSER funding, which all districts have, which is expiring in about a year and a half, a little under 2 years, how that would affect your finances, especially in the baseline going forward, and how that might be helpful to think about in a merger situation. Finally, we'll also talk about personnel. I think the critical thing here for us is to start with the work that Alloy and McClure will be doing on facilities and the enrollment numbers we mentioned, sort of starting with the number of kids and the amount of space, and then saying, okay, well, how many personnel do we need to serve that? We have spent a fair amount of time with multiple districts looking at comparative collective bargaining agreements and benefits, and as well as headcount and overlap. So we'll be able to dive into that and give you a sense of what resources would be needed in a merger situation compared to what you have now.
And as for facilities, we will inspect each building and develop a report, look at building capacity, how many students can fit in each building, and we'll do a building analysis. Recommendations that we make are not just thought of or arbitrary. This is a matrix that we use that takes a number of importance factors into account in developing a priority for improvement. And we rate them by number. We also rate them green to red. So green is good, it's good to go. And red is we need to stop and take a look at it. We don't forget about transportation and how that is a very important part of every district. We'll take a look at not only facilities, but how students get around and get through these campuses and through the neighborhoods, home to school. Stakeholder engagement will be a major part of what we look to do. We share information in many different ways and can. Discussions, surveys, interviews, questionnaires, end user meetings, student engagement. We look to bring everyone together in an important project like this. And then we'll look at proposed options and what does that mean for the boards and the schools, and outline a number of different recommended paths for the schools to take. And then obviously we will deliver the study, as I mentioned, in paper and digitally, so that you have a hard copy and one that you can walk around with on your smartphone and answer questions in public. Dean, do you want to take this?
Sure. Yeah, so the two, as you've heard from and see from our moving back and forth here, there are pieces of the merger study that are very much related to kind of PDE's merger template and toolkit and how they expect to see information. And then there are underlying details that we think are really critical to that. So we look at this, what you'll see finally as Randy outlined going through the book will be an integrated piece, but they're made up of these two different aspects. And our goal will be to blend them and braid them together so that there's an integrated whole for all of you to have.
So we do believe this is a strong team, a very strong team to develop a successful study. Here's a list of our educational clients, many clients throughout the Commonwealth. Currently, as Dean mentioned, they're working on a merger study at Pennsbury School District, Wilkinsburg School District. Our team is working at Athens own facilities, Mark specifically. Morgan has worked here for your district. My firm is currently wrapping up a study for Southern Tioga School District. That is the end of our presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have for the team.
Does anybody have any questions for the team? Randy here's going to turn the lights back on, please. That's right.
I think, Pete, I was going to say, I think it's important for the public to know, at least at this point, that the board has actually had the opportunity to see this presentation for an hour, basically I think it was an hour or 90 minutes long presentation with a lot of Q&A. So you may not hear a lot of questions coming from the board because of that reason. We actually conducted two reviews with two different organizations before getting to the point where we wanted to bring forward this group for consideration. So just for awareness.
Thank you, Mr. Skirpon. Does any board members have any questions about what was presented?
I'd like to thank the team for coming up this evening and sharing all this information again and doing a presentation to the public. I know you'll be back tomorrow in the Athens School District to do the presentation there as well. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so with that, we're going to move on to our reorganization. This will, so we'll open it up for nominations for the temporary reorganization president.
I make a motion, Ron Cole. Second?
Any other nominations? All right, Mr. Cole?
Thank you.
Yeah, we need a motion. No, there's no other nominations.
Very good. Well, good evening, everyone. We'll now start with the election of the school board president. We'd like to open up nominations at this moment. Any nominations for the election of the school board president?
I make a motion for Pete Petrini.
We have a nomination for Mr. Pete Petrini. Any other nominations? Motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
We have a second? Okay, we have a second for Mr. Shaw. On that note, we recommend that Mr. Pete Petrini be elected as 2023 President of the Sayre Area School District Board of Education. Roll call vote.
We'll begin with Mrs. Agnew.
Yes.
Ms. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Kmetz?
Yes.
Mrs. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Skircon?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie? Abstain.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Cole. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, and now last on the agenda, the election of School Board Vice President. We'll open up nominations.
I nominate Ron Cole.
Do we have any other nominations? Can we have a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second recommending that Ron Cole be elected as 2023 Vice President of the Sayre Area School District Board of Education. Another roll call vote.
We'll begin with Ms. Olson? Yes. Mr. Cole? Abstain.
Yes.
Mrs. Kmetz?
Yes.
Mrs. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Skircon?
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew?
Yes.
Mr. Petrini?
Yes. All right, Mr. Petrini, congratulations, Mr. Cole. All right, so moving on to our regular agenda, I would like to point out that the 2023 Board of Education meeting schedule is out. Starting with our next meeting, January 9th, 2023. Posted on the website.
Goes to the website, will be on our calendar.
Yeah, on our calendar. Yep. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll move forward with the consent agenda. So starting with the minutes, moving on to instruction, including a conference request, affiliation agreement, field trip request, some district volunteers, and athletics, including coaches, finance, including transfers and tax report, a bid approval, personnel, including employment, and policy, final reading of policy. It's a consent agenda. Get a motion.
Can we just discuss the bid approval and what that's for?
Yeah, so after the motion, a second, we'll open
Okay.
up for discussion.
Thanks.
So Mr. Shaw's got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All right, any discussion?
Again, sorry. Just want to, about the bid approval, can we just have like a quick overview of what that's for?
Sure, the bid that's before you is for a new radio system, transponder that's old and needs replaced up on Round Top, all our bus radios, other vehicle radios, as well as the walkie-talkie type handheld radios that we use throughout the two schools to communicate.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Is this separate, Mr. Claypool, from what municipalities have, or is this all in conjunction with what municipalities and the school district has? I mean, I know that they've got a transponder up there as well.
Yeah, it's a different transponder because we all have our own frequencies and those kinds of things. I did have the assistance of the Bradford County Emergency Management folks when we went out to assist them and stuff.
Any other questions?
I have a point to make. I wanted to, and I'm sure Mrs. Morel, I'll pass the mic to her as well if she'd like to speak, but on the personnel part, Mrs. Renee Haggerty has put in her retirement for the 22-23 school year, and I wish her well in the next endeavor that she takes, and I want to thank her for her years of service, her dedication to our student body and our school district as a whole. She's an amazing individual, and I'm just thankful to have known her and been able to work with her, and so I wish her well at the end of the school year when she moves on to her next chapter. So after all her years of service.
And
So,
just as a
Mrs.
side
Morel?
note, she's ending her career where she began her career in first grade. So what a fitting touch to come back and be able to do that. So again, we'll have big shoes to fill, and we thank her for all that she's done for the district.
She was a great teacher, absolutely. She will be missed. Anyone else? All right, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed?
I need to abstain on my volunteer. Do I need to
Nope,
abstain?
not
No, it's not
volunteers.
money, it's not attached to money.
You're okay. All right. So all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Although I will say, Mr. Screwball, that Mrs. Morel was very excited to see your name on there, and couldn't wait to put you to work as a volunteer.
The list is long.
All right, so for roll call voting items, we do have the bills. So I got a motion, do I have a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion of the bills?
Mr. Petrie,
Yes, sir.
I have to abstain on number 76.
Okay, we'll get to there in a second. Mr. Shaw, thank you. So roll call, Mrs. Jacob.
We'll begin with Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Kmet,
Yes.
Ms. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes, abstain on 76.
Mr. Skircon,
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew,
Yes, except I abstain on number 2, please.
Ms. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie.
Yes. The next point for roll call is a legal action. Dr. Delozer, can you talk about that?
Sure. There is a case, actually lawsuit going on against the e-cigarette maker of Juul, and we as a team and the administrative team are advising that we should join that litigation as it is affecting our teenagers right here in Sayre with the amount of time and energy spent toward helping and gaining and trying to re-educate students on what's happening when they utilize e-cigarettes and the vaping that occurs, and so that's why we brought this forward.
Thank you very much. So can I get a motion on this legal action?
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
We'll begin with Mrs. Kmet,
Yes.
Ms. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Skircon,
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew,
Yes.
Ms. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Petrie.
Yes. So the next one is the Revitalization Tax Assistant, or LRTA. It's recommended the board approve the Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance Program for 2032, pertaining to the area defined as the Sayre Business District, which is further defined as being bordered by Chemung Street to the south, Brock Street to the west, Stevenson Street to the north, and Lehigh Avenue to the east, and specifically captured by the map presented.
So moved.
So we have a motion, we have a second.
Second?
So a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So I would just want to share with the public, anyone who wants to see that map, it's on our board docs for our website as an attachment, and it outlines where the map is and what's inclusive of that for the tax.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? Mrs. Jacob?
We'll begin with Ms. Riley.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Skirpon.
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew.
Yes.
Ms. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
Yes.
Mrs. Kmet.
Yes.
Mr. Katrina.
Yes. So the last one is the merger feasibility study. So it's recommended the board partner with Athens Area School District to contract with Alloy 5 Architecture, McClure Company, PFM, and Eckert Siemens Attorneys at Law to complete a merger feasibility study. The Sayre Area School District will pay for 50% of this study.
So moved.
So we have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Can we just discuss what the 50% dollar figure is?
Sure.
Are we able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 50% comes to $67,500. That would be our portion of the study.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I would like to share something with the board before we take your vote. So I just want to make sure that I reiterate that this is a study to gather facts, data that will be historical and up through the present, include projections for our future. The study will take several months. At the conclusion of the study, the information, the facts will be presented so that the board, both Sayre and the Athens School Board, may make an informed decision to merge or not merge. Tonight's vote is to conduct a study or not conduct a study. I also want to define the word merger, as both districts have agreed. If in the end a decision is made to merge, it would mean that both districts would be dissolved and a new district would be formed. So again, tonight's vote is to conduct a study or not to conduct a study. Just want to be very clear about that.
Could I just ask you, the study isn't, none of it will, is it going to overlap the feasibility study that we already did and paid?
No,
Okay.
just so that you know
So that-
that
yeah.
Athens put out an RFP in the spring for two different parts. One for their feasibility study, which they're paying in full for on their part, and then one for a merger study that we're sharing in that cost.
I think it's called
The company-
facility study, right?
Facility.
Joe?
Correct, the
So not
facility,
feasibility.
I'm sorry, the facility
So people
study.
understand that.
Facility
I
study.
mean,
And I would
it's not
say-
overlapping, we're not
Yes.
paying the same thing, we're just
No.
paying for it.
And Alloy 5 and McClure have said that they will utilize our study and also, as a part of this process, come into our buildings and verify what was studied, what was conducted. If they feel that there's anything missing, they're going to look into all of those pieces and so that we know that we have all the information that we need. Morgan, did you have more?
Essentially, to the extent that the Sayre study already conducted doesn't meet all the data points that Alloy and McClure usually hit in their analyses, they will come in and look at those data points, but they're not going to create the same result twice when you've already got this data available.
Thank you. No, that's,
Thank you
that's,
very much.
yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
glad that you asked that question. We're not doing a set, doing a repeat.
Any other comments? Or-
What's the timeline on this?
So they don't have an exact, but it could be up to 6 months. Yeah.
Maybe 9.
Maybe
6
not.
to 9. 6 to 9.
They're saying it was 6. Yeah. It's extensive and comprehensive. Absolutely. I think I said several months. That way I was covering it without putting a number on it.
Our mode changes once the contract's signed over. We'll be a little.
Any other questions or comments? All right, Mrs. Jacob.
We'll begin with Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Skirpon.
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew.
Yes.
Ms. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
Yes.
Mrs. Kmet.
Yes.
Mrs. Riley.
Yes.
Mr. Katrina.
Yes. Thank you very much, everyone. So we have a special acknowledgement. I want to give a special recognition to our
I would be happy to do that. So I just would like to share that Mrs. Vika Schaefer, who was Miss Vika Spoliansky, she got married in the summertime, and is a wonderful person, along with Mrs. Lucinda Gumar, who works here at the high school as well, along with Miss Madeline McCutcheon. They're all here at the high school. They've been employed with us for a year at this point in time, and they've completed their induction program over the course of that time with administration and their mentors, along with all of their colleagues that supported and helped them, and they're a wonderful addition to our staff. And so I just wanted to acknowledge they've completed their induction program and moving on into their next 2 years to acquire tenure.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
So we'll move on to principal's reports. Stealing.
Good evening, Mrs. Okay. I don't have a lot to report. Winter sports have begun here at the high school. That includes girls and boys basketball, junior high, JV and varsity, wrestling at the junior high and varsity level, and cheer at the junior high and varsity level. And we do have a few, I think 4 students swimming at Athens through our co-op program. We're in the process of getting bocce started as well, so stay tuned for that. Sorry.
The person on Zoom is repeating you.
Our holiday spirit week is coming up. It will run the same week over at Snyder and here at the high school, so that'll be December 19th through the 22nd. Last week we had students sign up for our 4 new dual enrollment classes through Keystone College. So we had 15 students total that signed up. And a few of them actually signed up for multiple classes, so not just one at a time. And the last thing is that the band chorus holiday concert will be here at the high school on December 15th at 6 p.m. here in the auditorium. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Seeley. Mrs. Burrow.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Ely, for sharing those activities. We're also participating in them, with Thursday being my favorite pajama day. So I'm very excited and looking forward to all of those activities. A big shout out to Mr. Satterley, Richie Satterley, Mr. Bunker, and the maintenance team. We had a small minor mishap today. The cold water faucet blew off, and it was like Old Faithful in the men's bathroom. Rishi quickly took care of the situation. Maintenance department came over and took care of it. So something that could have turned into something big stayed relatively small. So they were very quick and efficient in their actions, and I thank them for putting that as a first priority to get that fixed. Down at the end there is a sign-in sheet. All that requires you to do is please sign if you choose to do so. I am required as a federal programs coordinator to discuss with you Title IV. Title IV is encompassed in federal programs. The majority of our budget from federal programs comes from Title I. Title I programming is what pays for the salary benefits of the teachers and the aide at Snyder Elementary School. It's a little bit under $400,000 or so, and that money changes depending on previous year's census data and also EFIG, E-F-I-G funds. So those are variable funds. Mr. Claypool and I are always in close contact about budgeting and what those numbers may or may not look like. So we may in 1 year, we hover right on that EFIG line, E-F-I-G, and as soon as you meet that number, your allocations can go up very much, or if you fall below that line, your allocations can dip significantly. It's quite a complicated process. I do talk with Kelly Gallatin when those numbers do come out, just to make sure that they do represent accurately our allocations. Title II is written to maintain our CSRI funding program, which is our class size reduction initiative. That pays for a portion of the teacher's salary where that additional classroom is added. It is important to remember that it is supplant versus supplement, so we have to be careful where that classroom is placed. The final category, which is interesting that I'm required to speak about, is the smallest amount of money that we get. We get just a little bit over $30,000 in Title IV, which is innovative programming. That money is used to help reimburse the district for infrastructure. So Mr. Claypool, when that server was purchased, Title IV programming will reimburse the district up to $5,000 for that server that was put into place and used here in the school district. It's also used into one of the many categories that innovative programming in Title IV does allow for. So we choose through surveys and a needs assessment to offer salary for the health program to continue and the STEM classroom that Mrs. Leonard offers to continue. So it's not a very big piece of money in the realm of things, but it does help to offset that piece of those two programmings very well. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to give me a call, send me an email, or if anybody has any questions with regard to that, please feel free to ask. If you would just sign that sheet, I can put that in my audit file so that it was discussed with board members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Brown.
You're welcome.
PSBA?
Okay, I'm up. Well, over the past couple of months, we've been revising the principles for governance and leadership that's been released. There's a few changes in there. It's out on the psba.org website. Also coming up on Saturday, the 10th of December at 9 a.m., another board leadership panel discussion will be taking place. These are 2-hour discussions, but one thing about those is they're very informative. I encourage my board members as well to hopefully pick out a date, if you can, to take part in that. It basically describes various ways to define your responsibilities, as well as focus a lot on the responsibilities for board leaderships and panel discussion, etc. It's very informative. Also, they'll be having it on Tuesday, December the 13th from 6 till 8, Wednesday, January the 4th from 11 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon, and Saturday, January the 7th from 9 till 11 a.m. And again, if you go in to register on the MyPSBA website, you might see where it says it's a cost of $65, but if you go down, it'll tell you that membership is free, it's zero cost. So, and we're members, of course, of PSBA. And if anyone is interested in having a seat on the school board, they do have a program that is coming up on December the 15th at 8 a.m. and another at 6 p.m., as well as one on January the 3rd at 12 noon and one at 4 p.m. also on January the 3rd. And again, you'd have to get in contact with one of the board members so that they can register you. So if people are interested in possibly wanting to be up here on the stage here with us, like I said, you're more than welcome to sit in and find out all that you have to do. And other than that, Mr. Petrini, I also want to make mention too, before I wrap up this, is I've been going over the different things with Bradford County, Sullivan County, counties really close to us, and I really got to give a shout out to our board. We've got like 4 members of our board that have been on here for over 10 years, and of course we have 3 brand new members, great additions to our board as well, who are ending or finishing up their first year. And after you take a look at a lot of the other districts in our region, let's just say there's a lot of turnover on those boards, and we've got a strong board. And like I said, I really appreciate everyone on this board, and again, our dedication to our students, staff, and also to our communities. Northern Tier Career Center, next, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Beginning, hopefully here on January the 17th, they're hoping to get a new program started called Little Learners, and it's like a pre-K program that won't be any cost to any of the families for the inaugural program, and it'll be held from January through May 2023, Tuesdays and Thursdays on those dates from 8:45 in the morning till 10:45 in the morning. And up to 10 littles will be in that particular program. And then from 12:15 till 2:15 p.m. up to 5 littles. The reason why they're doing it in this particular way is because there's separate school districts that go during the morning session at Northern Tier Career Center and in the afternoon session. So, and if you haven't been down to the Career Center to take a look at that Child Development Center, it's quite an experience, let me tell you. It's very, very nice. And last but not least, I just want to make mention that in the first quarter of the year, attendance records, 94% of the students have been there totally without absence. So that's a pretty good record so far as we begin the year down there. So, and one other thing, $85,000 in the PS Bank distribution day for 285 students. All that goes for their tools that they use in the classroom. And this is about the 4th or 5th year that they've done this. Thank PS Bank. Boy, there's a lot of alphabet soups in here. PS Bank for their distribution day. Okay, that's everything from the Northern Tier Career Center.
All right, Mr. Cole, thank you very much.
Yes.
Last item, Ms. Zach.
There really isn't anything different. They talked a little bit about legislators and what may change or may not as far as the Department of Education. Otherwise, that's about it.
Anything from Satellite Creek?
No, I think the last event was held a couple weeks ago, and it's been winterized, so it's all set. I think Conservation District actually is using it last week and this week and next week, I think, doing some different studies up there. So, but otherwise, that's it.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the board for re-electing me as president for the 2023 school year. Thank you for that. With that, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Holidays. That's all I have.
That's all you have? Yeah. So if you didn't get to see on our Facebook page, I know we haven't been together for, it's been just a little over a month, but Zach Cross, one of our 7th graders, was live with Alan Gratz, who is an author of young students, and was able to present. So it was nationwide, and it was kind of cool to see that. We were able to watch it live, so participated from right here at our high school setting. I want to give a shout out to Bill Tinkham and Scotty, 2 of our second shift custodial team members who have worked diligently to not only do their jobs, but go out of their way and help. I had parents stop me and want to give them specific shout outs, and I want to make sure the board knew that of Bill and Scotty and our team of custodial, and I'll be following up with them personally, but I just appreciate that when parents or anyone reaches out to me when they go out of their way and do an extra special job. I continue to hold my parent advisory meetings that are monthly and open to the parents, and we've had some great conversations. We started this process in January, and every month a lot of individuals that are typically there continue to come. Others come and go based on their schedules that they can. They bring ideas forward, they bring problems forward, and we've been able to solve a lot of things and have open communication and conversation. We meet in the high school cafeteria, and it typically is the last Wednesday of the month, but it is on the school district calendar, and so it's open to all parents that might want to attend that. And I also, during parent advisory last week, Mr. Waldenberger, our new industrial arts teacher, got a shout out from a parent who wanted to give me a personal story that the way that he went out of his way to help their child in a specific way, and it was really touching to hear that story. So I appreciate him being a part of our team and doing what he does to include students and make sure that they feel welcome, and whatever it was that occurred with them personally, I just appreciated that, and the parent reaching out to tell me about that. I received memoirs of a goldfish that I'll be donating or giving off to Mrs. Morell to put in the library. It came as a gift from PSBA, so I did take the time, Mrs. Morell, to read memoirs of a goldfish, so before you put in your library, do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the goldfish tank gets a little crowded there for a period of time, but it's all right. And I too, like you, would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hope to see everybody back in January for our meetings and any other opportunities we may have. Thank you.
I did have one shout out, and I didn't want to forget all of the students that painted windows downtown Sayre. I talked to our mayor at a trade event at the Historical Society, and he said what a wonderful group of kids. He's never met more polite, outstanding, talented people in a really long time. So
Well, Ms. Koopman does a great job with those students.
she does a phenomenal job, absolutely.
It was a large group. I saw the picture on Facebook, how many students were able to attend this year. There was a large number of students that got to paint those windows, and we had good weather.
So kudos to all those kids. All right, so for future committee meetings, we do have one coming up December 12th. Mr. Shaw, is that correct? At 5:30 in the library for athletics? Oh, I'm sorry, hold on a minute. Can you repeat that, Mr. Shaw? Yep, next Monday, 5:30 in the library. Yep.
And I have a couple other comments, Mr. Petrie.
Sure.
First, I'd like to thank our school district put on the Rusty Rail again with Athens for the Rusty Rail on that. I would like to thank to Mr. Gorman, who was our football coach for I think 4 years, for being the football coach at Sayre, and the Northern Tier Youth Football League. Sayre hosted the first cheer competition since COVID, and they wanted to thank the school district for letting us use the facilities, the custodial staff for help, the wrestling coaches, Ralph Porter and Aaron Roberts were set up. Sayre's A squad got first for crowd cheer and dance. The B squad got first for crowd cheer and dance, and the C squad got third for cheer. And it was a great day, and it was a well-attended event, and they were glad that Sayre could host it. So, and the last thing I'd like to say is the same as other members of the board. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody, and thank to all our staff in our Sayre School District.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. All right, so with that, anybody have anything else?
For adjournment.
Got a motion for adjournment, do I have a second?